I was a farm boy. We raised a garden. My dad was a good boss. He seen we all kept busy at all times. My brother and our friend, they went in the service. What was I going to do? I just followed them. I was looking for a job. They say that Roosevelt ended the Depression, but he didn't. That little man with the mustache over there ended the Depression. Hitler, they called him.
Russell Dunham joined the Army in 1940. After the war broke out, he was sent into combat in North Africa, Sicily, and Anzio. Dunham's unit landed in the south of France in 1944 and fought its way north. 5 months later, they were facing a significant German force at the small town of Kaisersberg, France. They had been directed to take a hill before their own artillery was scheduled to strike.
Our artillery was coming behind us. We were under box artillery, they called it. You had to be at a certain place at a certain time or that artillery would have came in right in on you. We were attached to the 1st French Army. We went out on a diversion patrol. What it was actually made for was to draw the Germans off the French. And they definitely wanted prisoners. The snow was knee-deep. And we started up that big hill, and they had big logs. It was log-covered foxholes is what it was. I mean, big logs, and then they even had limbs on top of them for camouflage. I led the way. The first one I got a hand grenade, and I throwed the hand grenade, and it landed right on the pit of the foxhole. When it went off, why, it just took the first guy's head right off. I seen it. When it did that, well, I just rushed in on him. And the other one laying behind him was dead, but there was still a live one behind him, and I grabbed him and threw him back down the hill because I knew we wanted prisoners. That's when I got hit. See, my brother was with me. He had one squad on my right. And then when I raised up to try to motion, keep them coming forward, that's when I got hit across the back. They said if it would have been a skin deeper, it would have split my spine right in two. That's when I got mad. That's when I said, I got to get rid of these guys.
With time running out and desperate to beat the artillery from striking his unit, Dunham, bleeding profusely, jumped up and renewed his one-man assault, advancing further ahead of his platoon through a storm of automatic and rifle fire. He single-handedly destroyed 2 more emplacements and drove the Germans from their foxholes, leading a spectacular and successful diversionary attack.
A lot of people try to forget this, but I had worse action after that. When I got hit, I stayed at our medics until I healed fairly well. We went into Holzweiler, and that's where I got captured. And they brought all the other guys out of the house. I got out of the house and jumped out the window and run around. You know, Germany, they all had them big sauerkraut barrels, and I hid in that barrel. And then they lined the guys up right by me. And the medic says, "Where's Dunham?" And the German jumped right now. He heard it. He says, "Well, where's the other one? Where's the other one?" The next morning, I jumped out and was going to try to go across that field and get back in the woods. And I went through a little door in the barn. Naturally, it's cold and you stop to relieve yourself, and that's when I got captured. And they took me around in a house. And then when they searched me, I had a lot of cigarettes and candy in my pocket. I never did smoke. I kept my packs of cigarettes to trade, when I went to town. And when the Germans found that, they got into a fight over them, or a hassle, And they didn't search me very good, and I had that pistol under my arm, and they missed it.
Dunham's captors took him by jeep toward the German lines. Along the way, the driver went into a tavern, leaving Dunham alone with the other guard.
And he was about half asleep when I pulled my gun, which I had ready. I'd reached in there several times and clicked the hammer and played with it. And I had the hammer all back, and when I shot him twice right here, and he just fell forward, the blood gushed out his mouth, and I jumped out, went around and went into the irrigation ditch over there, or a drainage ditch, whatever they called it.
Dunham waited till nightfall to head back to the American lines, his feet and ears frozen from sub-zero temperatures.
My brother was getting a patrol ready to come after me. He says, I don't care if they got him in Berlin, I'm gonna get him.
Dunham was spotted by American engineers working on a bridge. They brought him to the battalion field hospital, where the doctors worked desperately to save his feet from amputation.
General O'Daniels got my citation that they had wrote up, and he sent it back. He says, you request a Medal of Honor on this. There was 5 of us that were decorated at the same time. Oh, it was a big deal. And I know everybody has seen them blow that swastika off of that big building there in Nuremberg. And that happened that day I was decorated. When I first got out of service, I thought, well, maybe someday there won't be no war. And I actually think that all wars should be forgotten. No, I don't believe in taking them out of history and all that, but until they can sit behind a table and, and iron everything out, I just don't know. But it'll never happen. People will fight forever. I mean, it's just nature, I guess. I knew Patton pretty well, Patton once said, if I had 1 million men like the Dunham brothers, I could whip the world. I said, speak for yourself.